This episode of Think Outside the Bus will include some photos taken inside the Lizzie Borden house, as there was no video recording allowed. Narration will be given to explain some of those photos. Enjoy.
Started happening when we started to investigate. Police officers in the house.
Anymore.
When did you settle in psychology?
I got a C in Psych 101.
Well, yeah, go with your best.
Yeah. So what happened was,
Although if I had a brain surgeon who got a C, and that's why I became a brain surgeon, I don't know if I'd be real.
well, what happened was, the way that I knew I didn't want to be a computer programmer, I had procrastinated. It was 6 a.m. I'm sitting in the computer lab. I have a project due at 10, and I hadn't quite finished it yet, and I was having bugs in it. And I remember looking around this computer lab at 6 a.m. and I looked and I said, all these people are geeks. I want to be a geek. I don't want to deal with computers for the rest of my life. This sucks. So I ran away. Let's Mr. Robin. Right.
The plates for your cheese.
So,
We're now at the Lizzie Borden house in Falls River, Massachusetts. As you enter the house, the tour guide had us move to the room off to the left as we sat down in the front foyer or front parlor. The room that you're looking at now is the entrance room. You see a dress in the back. Now that dress is actually from the movie Lizzie Borden that played on television a while back. And then you also see a portrait of Lizzie sitting there on the marble counter. The tour guide told us that this house is the exact house that Lizzie Borden's parents were murdered and killed in. He told us the story of what took place in this house and what exactly happened to Lizzie Borden's parents. Now, as you look through this room, this was the front foyer. This is where Mr. Borden and the Borden family would invite guests over. They would sit in this room and they would use it for entertaining purposes. Note, we're all hard at work taking notes because we're all worried this is going to be in our final, but we also have to do journal entries. Now the next room our tour guide took us into was the family dining room. Now back in the 1890s, Mr. Borden, or Andrew Borden, though he was a well-to-do man, did not wish to pay for the high price of ice. The family would come down with a disease known back then as the summer sickness. Andrew Borden would leave the mutton sitting out in the hot sun because he refused to pay for fresh food, saying, "Why let this food go to waste?" So the family would come down as what they call today as food poisoning. In the back, there is a display case with the axe head. That is the axe head that was used to kill Mr. and Mrs. Borden. Now, as the story is told, the axe head was found in the basement wrapped around cloth with blood on it. The cloths would later be tossed out of the case due to its nature to the menstruation cycle and female bleeding, not to sound morbid. Now the skulls you see in the back were the actual replicated skulls used during the trial. Now you can see the little holes in the skulls where the axe went and did its whack, whack, whack. These are replicas of Lizzie Borden's parents' skulls. The next room we moved into was the living room, where Mr. Borden was killed while sleeping on the couch. Our guide stated that the furniture in this house is not original to what was in the house when her parents were killed. Sometime after the case had ended, Lizzie Borden and her sister put the furniture into storage as they did not want to keep the furniture anymore. A flood came and destroyed everything, so there is no original furniture that was in the house at the time, minus a few books and a clock on the mantle. As we left the living room, we ventured upstairs to Lizzie Borden's mother's room. Now this is the room where Mrs. Borden was hacked to death. Being inside the compounds of the room brought chills up my spine. Now when you look at this room, you're going to see the bed off to the side. Here's a close-up. This right there, that is where Mrs. Borden was hacked to death, and that on the rug is where her body laid. Now you can actually see the actual bed and the bed sheets within the local museum in Falls River. The next room you're going to see will be Lizzie Borden's sister's room and Lizzie Borden's bedroom itself. It was said that Lizzie Borden took a trip to Europe a few weeks earlier with the inheritance from her mother's death for her 30th birthday. I should add, and her sister and Lizzie Borden switched rooms, so Lizzie got the big room and her sister got the small room. We were then able to venture up to the 3rd floor, which I did not get a chance to do last year. The maid's room. Seeing the maid's room was interesting to say the least. We then headed back downstairs to the back stairwell and finished the tour of the house by heading into the kitchen and out the back kitchen door. I should note that this house today is used as a bed and breakfast, so you can actually stay in the house that Lizzie Borden's parents were killed in. We headed back to the bus to head to see the house that Lizzie Borden later stayed in after she moved out and got her inheritance and fortune from her father. The house is pretty big. We can't go into the house because it's currently owned by someone else. I just think of what the people who lived in this house are saying when there are people outside creeping and looking into their window or going on their lawn saying, I want to see inside Lizzie Borden's house. Our final stop was to see the grave site of Lizzie Borden and her family. On the way there last year, it started to rain, but this year it was drizzly, but not bad. What horrible weather we had that day. We found a grave site and stopped to pay our last respects to Lizzie and her family. I, being as morbid as I am, decided to sleep and lie down next to her grave and get a picture taken. We got a group photo taken as well with the hack flag. Now, what you're seeing here is Lizzie Borden's grave, her mother's grave, and her parents' grave. And of course, this is the grave of A.J. Borden, or Lizzie Borden's father. Note, it is quite big. We said goodbye to Falls River and Massachusetts as we made our way to New Jersey, where our next hotel is. We didn't arrive till late that afternoon. So, what are we doing to her hair? Mitch, what are we doing to your hair?
We're dyeing my hair.
Making it pretty.
What color?
Yes, we're making it pretty.
Yeah, that's all
Pretty.
you know.
That's all you need to know, bro. You will see the results.
Awesome.
I'll be able to pull off there. I hope. The knobs to turn on and off were about as big as a horse's fetlock.